Good afternoon, guys. Happy holidays. Welcome to the podcast. I've got a fantastic guest for you today, Eric Saar. He's a meta ads anti-agency expert, and he used to subcontract for Facebook. And so today is going to talk to us all about ads, advertising, social media advertising, everything you wanted to know. He's the owner and CEO of Slingshot Media Consulting, and it's advised on more than 100 million in ad spend and 1,200 clients. And I'm really happy to have him on. Eric, welcome.
Thanks so much, Christopher. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Happy holidays.
Thank you so much. Excited to talk with you guys and your guest, your audience.
Yeah. Yeah. And just for the audience, Eric, if you're on video, it's because Eric has a bad back and happy to have his expertise. Start off by introducing yourself and we will dive into the conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been really fun doing Facebook ads. I always say meta ads, Facebook ads, it's Instagram ads, it's all the same. Through the Facebook ad manager, done so many clients, done a lot of doctors lately. In the last year or so, excited to talk about ins and outs and things to look out for. It's to be a fun conversation.
Yeah. So one thing is talking about the top if people wanted to go into advertising, at what point should people consider advertising versus organic growth?
Ooh, that's a good question. So actually, that question is so nice because people often don't take that into consideration. They just want to go full-fledged into the new shiny thing. Well, the way I like to say it is, if you don't have the money, so first to back up, using Facebook ads or paid ads in general over organic is how you scale a proven offer. And if you, one, don't have a proven offer, that goes to cold traffic. Oftentimes, they'll have a good offer that converts to warm traffic, referrals, or something, and then they will immediately go scale that to cold traffic. One, that won't work because those are only converting at the rate you're talking about because it's warm offers, because they're being introduced to you. So that's one problem, one thing that people not they jump over. And secondly, is the thing going to scale to cold offers? It's about scaling. So if you can't spend $1,000 a month or more on it without caring how it works, you're already in the tank, right? You're already like not going to spend enough for Facebook ads, which I will use as a proxy for Meta Instagram ads, to be effective to get your message out there to convert at a reasonable rate.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Yeah. And the next question I have for you is just how have the Facebook and Instagram ads evolved over the years and what trends are currently shaping the landscape of digital advertising?
So one thing that's interesting is that I started doing this maybe 2019, I would say, and so things have been everybody who's done this for a long time knows that maybe 2015 around there and before that was really easy because there was not enough people on the platform to make it everybody could basically do anything they wanted and it was really easy. Then it started getting a lot harder.
Yeah.
And let's say the funny thing is everyone tells me that things are changing on Meta all the time, and they are changing where buttons are and stuff like that, right? So it is confusing if you don't have a hand like me to guide it. But really only about 2 to 3 changes have happened in 5 years that mattered at all to like how you run it. So one of those would be the iOS update in probably 2022, I would say 2021, where Apple was trying to make sure that Facebook couldn't track anything. So what it did was it made using the Pixel a lot harder for certain kinds of people. And another one that's been much more recent, like you mentioned recently, Facebook took about 3 years to figure this out. But basically, you can now, as a testing thing, something to test, is that what they call their open targeting, their broad targeting. Generally, people are messing up their targeting a lot. If you do your detailed targeting, your people are usually doing like 1 to 5 million people, but doing detailed targeting should be doing like 30 to 70 million people. But that's for all just if you're just doing the US. But if you do broad targeting, you need to try open it up to the 250 million or 300 million people, and Facebook can find it. But it only works for some clients. It's not going to be, it's not just like everybody go there now, no need to worry about targeting, but it's something to test. So I was running 50 grand of ads for a doctor most of 2024, or half of 2024 and the end of 2023. And broad targeting ended up working for us, but only if we kept the each campaign budget under $250. And then it kept the metrics that we needed in the right place. But the broad targeting did work better for uh because it was a broad market. If you tried it like a niche market, broad targeting is just not going to work.
Mhm. Yeah. And then the next question I have for you is I'm always in the game of looking at the next undiscovered territory, whether
Mm.
that's, and so this also goes with social media. And so it looks like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. But what platform should be people looking at in terms of the advertising space? Like what's the undiscovered territory where, people are starting to, where you could get the highest ROA.
I'm not sure if I'm the perfect person for that, just because I've stayed with Facebook because I'm the like nth degree expert at that. TikTok is still probably pretty much a blue ocean for most people. The reason I say that is because a lot of the people who are on there are going to be influencing on a certain region, right? So a lot of people, so for instance, if you're a dermatologist in Southern California, you could be a influencer who's getting weight really good. But if you're in Florida, you could be the same influencer, not do nearly as well as that person, and still make a lot of money at it because of how their algorithm works. From what I can understand, I'm not really on there, but when I'm listening to tech blogs and or like podcasts about this, the idea is that the algorithm is so different between Meta and YouTube as well as TikTok, and TikTok still is probably more what they call blue ocean, whereas Facebook is probably a red ocean by quite a bit at this point.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Interesting. And what about YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter? What about those platforms?
So I've been on Twitter for a long time, but more in the sports world rather than in the business world. I would invest in Twitter. I don't think it's a place where you're going to make. I've been DM'd by people, a lot of people in the. If you're in a very specific B2B SaaS market, maybe you can find a way to get to DM or enough of the right people on there because that's going to be the people that are on there. But I wouldn't say it's like for most people a way to actually get clients. I do think YouTube probably is. If you can create a good YouTube blog, video blog that kind of gets the right niche, what it does is it creates, because YouTube gets searched on Google a lot, I think it's a really good way to, especially for certain kinds of businesses, say those service businesses or doctors and stuff, you're able to create both authority and searchability in one thing, as long as you can find the balance between how produced it needs to be versus how much time it takes you to do that, if that makes sense. So some people overproduce and some people underproduce. You probably need to find a good middle ground, and underproduce is probably okay if you can hit some certain things. It looks like you have it totally nailed from your background. I can see. And so I would say YouTube's probably the place to lean into there. Twitter, not so much. LinkedIn ads, I've had a lot of people say LinkedIn ads are not really converting for them. What I would say is I do really using Sales Navigator to do what are called LinkedIn automations. So you can find a way to DM your people with a conversation starter and get the conversation moving there, where you're not using ads and not paying money for that, but you're paying money for Sales Navigator, $100 a month, and then whatever platform is helping you create automations, messaging automations through that. For instance, sending people case studies on what you're doing to people who have been pre-qualified, because in LinkedIn you can pretty much find the people better than probably any other platform in terms of specific personas.
Hmm, interesting.
Yeah.
The the other question I have for you is the what about in the terms of how does AI going to play a role in the social media advertising space?
So far, AI is inside Facebook ads in terms of the content, the writing, the posts. They have some interesting things in there. You have to understand buyer psychology first. So again, people try to think in all these AI places. People are trying to think AI is going to replace everything. It's going to enhance it. Whoever understands buyer psychology can use AI to find the right words to hone what they already understand. But if you don't understand how people buy and get the right funnel and stuff, it's not going to matter that you had some words, all right? And there is some AI inside Facebook ads already in that. I am not the. I think AI sometimes can be a crutch for some people, especially people who aren't. I know some people on the forefront of AI and they understand how to use it, and most everybody else is not understanding how to use ChatGPT correctly. Like I was using it to brainstorm business models and how to hone things to look out for, but it's not going to solve problems, if that makes sense.
Yeah, interesting. Another follow-up question I have for you is a lot of people, for example, Gary Vee probably has his own
Mm.
in-house ad agency, but
Oh yeah.
what are the advantages of bringing ads in-house rather than relying on agencies, and what do businesses need to consider before making the shift?
Love that question. This is one of my big things in terms of being the anti-agency. So briefly, just a little backstory. I worked through Facebook, $100 million in ad spend, about 1,200 clients, and 500 of them are agencies. Of the agency, they were on call on behalf of their client. They got the call with the Meta, right? And only about 10 of those agencies knew what they were doing. So many of them were breaking basic rules. Also, they're not incentivized to help people. They're incentivized to keep you paying long enough for them to scale their agency with other people. They're only going to use, and so they also, I have more experience than entire agencies with all their people combined in ad spend and individual clients and individual client ad spend. And so for almost every agency I could think of, I've met a couple that are just crazy high. But and so the problem is these agencies either oftentimes they have a cookie cutter solution. So let's say they solve a problem for a very specific niche. Then either they will double down on that niche and only hire clients with that perfect client and really dive deep. And they'll usually are able to replicate that result, but they can't replicate it for anybody else because they don't actually know how Facebook works. They just know the buyer problems of that person, that persona. But the problem is, or they'll not double down on that niche and will pretend or think that strategy applies to all businesses equally. And so they'll use that funnel and it won't work. And then they'll blame the people. Like I have so many people, I know some agencies that blame the people for not converting. And I'm gonna give you an example. They don't understand Facebook like almost at all. Like it's crazy. I've seen the agencies using the wrong conversion objectives, all the stuff. Literally, people, I've seen a lot of agencies and people use traffic as a top of funnel lead for source, like traffic on Facebook. We're not talking about like website traffic, but like of the 17 conversion objectives inside Facebook, they use traffic, which is Facebook profiles. I'm paraphrasing, but as people who click on links and do nothing else. So imagine the agency using traffic saying, I'm getting you an amazing click-through rate, which is people clicking from the ad to the website, right? Of course they are. That's what the ad's made to do. But nobody or almost nobody will convert. And then they can blame the client saying, you didn't get me any people. They're like, the client says, you didn't get me any people. And the agency says, no, we got you tons of people. Your offer didn't convert. It's on you. And then they just walk away. And then either you feel like you're have to keep paying them to keep working on it, and they don't need to prove anything. They have no there's no problem for them. They just keep going, have some low level person be doing the ad strategy, and they go from there. And also one of the biggest things is so many agencies have their fee tied to a percentage of ad spend, usually 10%. I was working with a doctor, 10 months, 50 grand a month in ad spend. The person he had before was 4 years working with him. Literally, it was essential oils or something like that. And this guy was targeting Fila, the sports athletic brand. This is only targeting inside Facebook. I doubled the engagement rate on his emails in day one because I know how to target and do it correctly. And so the idea is that, but he was 10% of ad spend. So it was, the more this guy spend, the more this guy got paid to do it terribly. But they don't have any really ethical need to help the business owners. But I've done it. All I want to do is help these business owners. And if they think Facebook is a part of their Facebook, Instagram is a part of their strategy, I want to help them do it correctly.
Yeah,
I know
interesting.
I rambled there. Anything to follow up on?
So yeah, and so the next question I have for you is this: when common ad mistakes and how to avoid them in your experience, what are the most common mistakes businesses make with Facebook and Instagram ads, and how can they avoid them?
One is the one I touched on is this idea of the wrong campaign objective. So often you're going to use leads or you're going to use sales because you want the actual business objective. Now there's this thing called 50 and 7. You want 50 results or the goal in a 7-day rolling period to really hit on the flywheel of Facebook ads. And so what that means is traffic is too high. It's not signal, right? But if you're trying to get sales, it's pretty hard to get 50 sales in a 7-day period, right? For anything more than $5 if you're not doing e-commerce. So the idea is where in your funnel, for everybody out there, is the thing that you can get a result. So sometimes it's add to carts, sometimes it's just leads. I use leads a lot, especially for like my doctor's funnels. I use webinar leads. So if you use leads, webinar funnels, you can usually pretty for a decent amount of ad spend, pretty low amount, get 50 results in a 7 day period. That keeps the flywheel going to get 70, 80, 90 for the same amount of ad spend because Facebook now knows who you're going after. So I had a doctor about a year ago. Unfortunately, his tech people didn't follow through, so I never knew if the webinar would have made money. But for I think it was $600, we got 200 people sign up for a chronic brain fog webinar, and then the second time, a couple weeks later, it was 240 people signed up through Facebook lead forums for a chronic brain fog webinar. So imagine, I think it was like a $6,000 program that he was trying to upsell people to. Generally, for webinars, it's a 50% show rate. So 200 people get registered, 100 people show. Well, I think 30%. So let's say 30% seems high, but let's say 5 people buy, right? It makes spend 600 to make 6 times 4, 24, $2,400. No, to $24,000. That's a sort of an extreme example and sort of a guess, right? But the reason that worked or could work is because it hits on certain parts of the Facebook algorithm that most agencies have no idea about. What all they know how to do is how to go from an ad, put the right stuff in, and hit publish so it works. And maybe they know how to target a little bit. That's usually most people.
Yeah, interesting. Well, talk about, we have around 10 more minutes, and talk about the future of social media advertising and how you see the future of meta ads and social media marketing in general. What innovations or changes should businesses be preparing for?
Still, what we want to we want to be doing strict testing. So testing copy, creative audiences in a very interesting way. So I don't use the A/B split test inside Facebook ads because I find it wastes money a little bit. I have a different way that we worked at Facebook in our division, and so you got to be really strict with your testing to make sure you're duplicating your campaigns and not unpublishing. So there's a thing called significant edits in there that is really the bane of your existence if you're trying to do Facebook ads. So if you're not leaving it for 2 weeks or you're making changes to it, republishing, you're gonna just be ruining the data and making it not helpful to make good decisions. So you want to make sure you're doing that correctly. Moving forward, I think in terms of the future, I think, so I keep hearing this. People are going to keep thinking Facebook ads is dead. More people are going to leave and just give cheaper CPMs to everybody who's still on it. I
Hmm.
think that's going to happen in 5 years. Like there's going to be less and less people on it, but there's still 2 billion monthly users. It still hits Instagram. There's a lot of people there. Unless people are going to use it, the people only, and it's gonna, let's say we increase the number of people making money on it because the people who stay are the ones making money. The people who leave are the ones who couldn't make money because they didn't hire a good expert.
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
yeah. Excellent. The next question I have for you is, so advice for new advertisers for businesses just starting with meta ads. What would you say are the most critical first steps to ensure their campaigns are set up for success?
Some good foundations here. That's a good one. So one is make sure you have enough money to spend. So if you're spending maybe, let's say, so I have someone I brought in a couple of days ago, and they're on the low end of what I'd usually deal with, but $1,000 a month in spend, right? So you want to really compress your ad spend into a 2 week period. So what that means is if you have $1,000, you're going to spend it in a 2 week period and not the whole month, because you're not able to have your money is going to be able to be better spent to get higher level people in your ads. So that's one thing. Making sure you don't touch it and leave it for 2 weeks is really important. And then make sure your offer converts for cold traffic. What that means is if you stop the scroll with your creative and then have words that push in the landing page, because if you don't want your words to try to do too much, a lot of people try to do way too much with their words and try to do the whole sale on the ad. You get them to your landing page or to your lead form or to your webinar and then do the work there.
Next question I have for you is, share a success story where a business saw significant improvements after switching from an agency managed ad strategy to an in-house approach.
Yeah, a lot of my people that I work with have agencies. So, for instance, I had this guy in March of last year. Yeah, March of this year, I guess. It's a couple. Tomorrow's the new year. March or the day after tomorrow. March of this year, 2024, and he had been paying agency, I think it was 5 grand a month to do his ad spend. And they came to us and they're like, we need new people because it was a referral through someone else. And they took my program and the ad account was so messed up. So it's a lot better off now. And even after the program's over, paid a retainer to keep it going because he wanted our help further to dive deeper into it to find more. Because he had another ad account that was also messed up. So now he is saving 5 to 10 grand plus all the better of the ad account every month and his people. So I could teach it to people to do it in 4 hours a month or less. And other people are taking 10 hours, 20 hours a week doing this, breaking their heads, doing everything wrong, and also wasting a lot of time and making bad decisions. And we just got to help streamline the process for everybody.
Yeah. Lastly, how can people find you and follow you and reach out to you?
Absolutely. Yeah, so probably the best way is to go to my website, slingshotmediaconsulting.com. There's a calendar link there on all over the page to book with me at the time if they want to talk about this and just look at their ad account, talk about their situation, see if it's the right fit. And then, yeah, well, LinkedIn. LinkedIn's probably the best way. So Eric Saar, ERICSAAR on LinkedIn is probably a good way to connect with me, become friends there, and you can message me and we can talk, set up a call.
Yeah. And excellent. And thanks so much for coming on and keep up the great work.
Thanks so much, Dr.